we are going to continue with our second credit, biomass utilization, from choice based optional theory paper elective, that is MBTE 32, bioremediation and biomass utilization, for MSc Part 2 in microbiology. Our topic for today is utilization of cellulose. As we all know that the world population is increasing continuously and will be increasing continuously in the near future as well. As the population is rising, so are the advancements in science and technology. With due to this, the standard of living in not only the developed countries but also developing countries is becoming higher, and meeting the needs of such a growing population demands high use of energy for many industrial processes like heating, transportation. Developing or producing such high energy sources has become a major challenge for all countries of the 21st century. Another goal, along with energy production, is to become sustainable in our future energy needs. The future energy supply or source which we are developing or utilizing should have the characteristic of being non polluting so as to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. Many countries in the world have begun hence to produce large amounts of alternative fuels, really reduce the load on non renewable fossil fuels such as petrol, diesel, oil, gas, etc. The most popular choice in these times is bioethanol, and a major effort has been directed in production of bioethanol. So currently the top producer or the first major producer of bioethanol is Brazil. Brazil mainly produces its bioethanol using sucrose as a source of carbon or substrate for production of bioethanol. After Brazil, United States ranks second in production of bioethanol. However, they produce their ethanol from cornstarch instead of starch. Sorry, instead of sucrose. Although there is reduction in gases when we produce ethanol from starch based or sugar based products, the ethanol which is produced is not in a very high quantity. Due to this reason, many socially conscious organizations as well as countries have criticized the strategy for converting land which is going to be used for production of food or agricultural based products to be converted into those used for production of ethanol or energy. We are dealing with the energy crisis, but at the same time, we also need to make sure that the production of ethanol is high enough, because because of such a high population, we also need to feed that many amount of people in the world. So we cannot be looking at this strategy unless and until you have optimized it to a great level. So, as I said earlier, sugar and starch based ethanol is very unlikely to provide a solution, and it provides only a very small fraction of what we require for our use. With this point of view, the Chinese government made a major decision and announced that they will not allow any further increase in starch based ethanol production, as it is mainly competing with food needs of the country. If the world is going to produce ethanol on a large scale and significantly lower the use of fossil fuels such as oil and gas, this ethanol needs to be produced from lignocellulosic waste products. Lignocellulosic products mainly include polymers obtained from corn stove, grasses, wood chips. These are all waste products. Hence, there is now more than ever before a tremendous amount of both political, scientific activity which is being directed towards trying to increase the production of ethanol. And this ethanol is mainly being produced from your lignocellulosic materials. So, when we talk about lignocelluloses, we are talking about three polymers, mainly lignin, hemicellulose, and cellulose. These three components combine in varying proportion to form a lignocellulosic structural support. This structural support is present in almost all the plants and is very important in providing rigidity. So, as you can see over here in this table, which is adapted from your BR Glick, you can see that pine wood contains about 44% of cellulose, 27%, around 27% of lignin, and about 26% of hemicellulose. Similarly, you can see the composition of birchwood, sugarcane bagasse, rice straw, cotton. A general statement which we can make looking at this table is cellulose usually is present in the range of 30 to 45%, whereas lignin is present in the range of 10 to 27%, and the remaining amount is dedicated to your hemicellulose, depending on which species is present. Hence, we can state that lignocellulosic material constitutes a vast biomass. This biomass is mainly going to include agricultural waste products from timber processing, and other human activities. These waste products can either be disposed in a safe or efficient manner, but a better use is to use or utilize this biomass as a resource. It has been estimated that annually approximately 1000 and 11 tons of polymer is being synthesized in the biosphere, and the energy content of this biomass is equivalent to about 640 billion tons of oil. Hence, you can see if we are able to devise a strategy to utilize cellulose or biomass which is abundantly available in the nature, we will be able to reduce the load on fossil fuels. Lignocellulosic material can be grouped into three classes. The first one is primary cellulosic material. Primary cellulosic materials include plants which have been harvested and grown specifically for their cellulosic content, structural use, or feed value. A very good example of this is cotton used in textile industry, timber used for manufacturing paper, and hay which is used as a fodder. The second category of lignocellulosic material belongs to agricultural waste cellulosics. Agricultural waste cellulosic products include plant materials which remain after harvesting and processing, such as straw, corn stovers, rice hulls, animal manure, timber residue, and sugarcane bagasse. The third category is composed of municipal waste cellulosics. They mainly comprises of waste paper and discarded paper products alongside. So this is a diagram which shows that the three out of the three components, the hemicellulose shown in the green fibrils, the cellulose microfibrils shown in large blue rods over here are associated with pectins and various soluble proteins in the plant cell. As you can see, the fibers are interlinked, and if you are able to utilize these fibers in a or biomass in a proper way, sustainable way, we will be reducing a lot of load on the greenhouse. We might be reducing a lot of load from the fossil fuels. The first material which we are going to be talking about is lignin. Lignin is a three-dimensional, globular, irregular, insoluble in water, high molecular weight compound or polymer. Lignin is mainly made up of phenyl polypropane subunits. These subunits with no chains of regularly repeating units or bonds are easily subjected to hydrolysis on treatment with enzymes or chemicals. As you can see, this is a schematic representation of lignin. It shows various possible linkages in phenylpropane. An aromatic group is usually attached between the C6 and the C3 alkyl chain. The phenyl polypropane units are generally organized and arranged in a non repeating fashion. The composition of lignin varies from species to species. This biopolymer is quite unusual due to its heterogeneous nature, as it lacks a defined primary structure. Also, lignin is the main support through strengthening the wood, which is mainly composed of xylem cells and lignified sclerenchyma in vascular plants. So, these lignols that cross-link are mainly of three types and again can be derived from phenylpropane. The first cross-link is 4 hydroxy 3 methoxy polypropane. The second one is 3,5 dimethoxy 4 hydroxyphenyl polypropane and 4 hydroxy polypropane. So we can say that in plants, lignin is almost always chemically bonded to hemicellulose. It wraps around the fibers composed of cellulose. Lignin is also known to provide rigidity to plants. This rigidity helps the plant to have resistance to mechanical stress as well as can evade microbial attack. The next component or heterogeneous polymer we are going to see is hemicellulose. As you can see in the diagram, it is made up of multiple subunits such as glucose, mannose, xylose, and galactose linked together by beta 1,4 or alpha 1,3 linkages. Hemicellulose. As we know, hemicellulose is a short chain compared to cellulose. It is a heterogeneous polymer, meaning composed of multiple different type of subunit. It contains both hexoses, namely glucose, mannose, galactose, which are 6 carbon compounds, and pentoses such as xylulose and arabinose, which are 5 carbon sugars. The three major type of celluloses, the three major types of hemicelluloses include xylans. Xylans are compound with a poly beta 1,4 xylan. It has a arabinose side chain. Glucuronic acid, arabinoglucuronic acid may be present associated with this. In this diagram, you can see the beta 1,4 xylan associated with either glucuronic acid or arabinose. Xylan is mainly present in hardwood. The second type hemicellulose is mannans. Mannans can be composed of either glucomannan or galactomannan. The third type of hemicellulose is arabinogalactans. In the diagram, you can see a 6 carbon beta D glucopyranose with its carbon position. The origin of lignocellulosic material mainly defines the nature of what type of hemicellulose may be present. For example, xylene is very common in hardwoods and glucomannans in softwood. The third and the last type of lignocellulosic material which we have to see is cellulose. Cellulose is one of the very simple form of compounds or rather simplest compound which is found as a lignocellulosic material. It is abundant or the most abundant polymer found in the biosphere. It is composed of long chains of D-glucose molecules. These D-glucose molecules are linked by beta 1,4 configuration. Cellulose, in a fashion similar to starch, can be hydrolyzed into its subunit of D-glucose. As I said, starch can also be hydrolyzed to glucose in a similar fashion, but the enzymes will be different. Cellulose is usually hydrolyzed using cellulase, whereas starch is hydrolyzed using amylase. Also, starch is the energy storage molecule in plants. Hence, glucose residues in starch are linked in such a way that they prevent a tightly ordered arrangement of polymers in the chain. This creates an open mesh-like structure. In this mesh, water can easily seep through. This makes starch water soluble, readily hydrolyzable by amylase and glucoamylase. On the contrary, when we talk about cellulose, it is a major supporting material or skeletal material of the plant. The glucose chain in cellulose, as you can see in the diagram, are arranged in a manner which permit them to be associated and packed in a crystal lattice like structure. This structure is impermeous or impermeable to the entry of water. This makes cellulose quite water insoluble. It also is responsible for making cellulose resistant to hydrolysis. So from this we can conclude that cellulose is a stored form of glucose. It also has the potential for being converted into a number of useful compounds such as alcohol. Before using cellulose as a biomass material, it should be released from complexes with lignin and hemicellulose. This separation from lignin and hemicellulose may require a number of treatments either with a strong acid or a base. Depending on the industry, one could also use high temperature and pressure for separation. Regardless of how cellulose is separated from this lignocellulose complex, the energy that is necessary to achieve this adds significantly to the cost of the final product. Annual production of lignocellulosic material is huge. Hence, effective ways of enzymatically degrading cellulose and hemicellulose are being searched constantly. Chemical and enzymatic methods for the selective degradation of lignin are also being studied alongside. But this method is less successful, hence, research is essential. With this, we complete a basic introduction to cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. In the next lecture, we'll talk about isolation of prokaryotic cellulase genes. Reference used. The main reference used is Molecular Biotechnology by B.R. Glick. Thank you.